You're listening to Niche to Meet You and our 4-part mini-series about wild turkey conservation. In this episode, we meet the people who love the wild turkey and conserve it. The turkey people. When I first considered doing an entire mini-series on the subject of wild turkey conservation, I shared on social media that I would be spending a couple days at the Wild Turkey Federation conference, held annually, right here in Nashville. I found that sharing potential subjects on socials is an effective way to gauge interest, and I was delighted to find the responses to this experiment largely intrigued. They ranged from questions about whether it was a federation for the bird or the bourbon, to excited affirmations of the event, to remarks about having stumbled on it in previous years and telling me how astounding it is. One friend even told me about a documentary featuring a guy who's really into turkeys.
I killed my first turkey when I was 10 years old. I can't tell you how many I killed, but I killed a lot of them.
This man's name is Mr. Shipes. He's a real-life person featured in a 1982 documentary called Vernon, Florida. It's about the town of Vernon, Florida, and the people who live in it. It was made by acclaimed documentarian Errol Morris, and this town is pretty sleepy. When I say sleepy, I mean that the film is slow-moving. It's tied together with little except character study, and every character in Vernon is otherworldly and heightened. It's almost like Errol wrote them himself, but he didn't. He just put a camera on them and captured the rawness of a small southern town with all its quirks and idiosyncrasies, and Mr. Shipes with his turkey obsession. He's a lead character.
See, now we spend time like this, day in and day out, not hear nothing. But you know they're here. They're a smart bird, the smartest we got in this country.
Until I started researching this project, I thought Mr. Shipes was an extreme, a caricature. Errol Morris just happened to find the #1 turkey fan in the whole wide world residing in Vernon, Florida. But I'm here to tell you, Shipes isn't exaggerated. No, Mr. Shipes is just a turkey dude, and they're all like him. They talk about turkeys like distant, crazy relatives they only see at reunions, but that bring a big old party. There's an endearment, a respect, an excitement. And what makes wild turkey conservation so fascinating to explore begins with these people. The ones who talk about this goofy-looking animal with a sparkle in their eyes that sound like Farmer Billy, who you'll meet in depth later in the episode. We went hunting together at 4:15 a.m. on a farm in Tennessee.
I know it sounds weird sometimes, but there's a trick to turkeys. They're pretty set in their ways. What I try to do is I try to be one of them. Think like them.
Wild turkey people are different, and they know it, and they're proud of it.
And if you've never met a certain individual before and you run into him at Walmart and he says he's a turkey hunter, you guys are best friends instantly.
That's Bob Fulcher, call-maker and wild turkey celebrity. Historian Brent Rogers agreed with Bob and explained to me why the culture of turkey hunting is so unique.
Turkey hunters are different hunters. And there's a great quote, and I think Archibald Rutledge, who was a writer from South Carolina, said, "Some men are mere hunters and others are turkey hunters." And I think that's what's unique about the turkey hunting subculture is people say it's a damn disease. When you get bit by the turkey hunting bug, you can get rabid about it.
What about it? What about it's so enticing?
Because of the way that we communicate with the wild turkey while we do it, and because turkeys are so inherently wild and not easy to hunt. To me, again, I think it goes back to the communication and the strategy of the actual hunt.
Notice that Brent didn't say turkey hunting is about finding the biggest one to eat or mounting the turkey for bragging rights. It's about the strategy of the experience.
Yes, it's great to end a hunt with a kill. However, it's not why I go, and it's not the thing I most remember. People see the social media pics that people put up, and they assume that that's where all the celebration is at, is in the kill, and it's not. You can't post the experience, but for most of us, that's why we're here, is because that's what binds us together, is that time that we spent in the woods or out in the field or wherever talking to turkeys, observing turkeys, letting them hunt us. It's just a chess match.
When you talk to turkey hunters, this phrase, chess match, will come up because it's just the most accurate way to describe the idea of hunting a turkey. You're trying to be one step ahead of your opponent and make a move that will catch them off guard while still paying attention to the immediate moves. Here's Roger Shields, turkey coordinator for the state of Tennessee.
What to move, when to move, whether to move, when to call, when not to call. Where's he going to show up? Is he going to be behind me? And how do you try and draw him around in front of you? And they're extremely wary. They have extremely good eyesight, so you have to be almost as still as possible. And sometimes they're just quiet. I mean, you'll hear them gobbling, and all of a sudden they go quiet, and you don't know, did he leave? Is he held up out there somewhere and not coming closer? Is he still coming, but he just isn't gobbling anymore? There's that part of it that I think is thrilling to people.
But it's not just the thrill of the hunt that brings people out to the woods to find turkeys. No, there's something else, something deeper. Things like legacy and familial bonds play a large role for the folks who do it, like for Wendy, who came to it later in life.
I was in my mid-30s, a mother of 3, and my dad turkey hunted, and I know how much he loved the sport. Yeah, I took the hunter ed course, but I also had an older friend that was a mentor to me, and Paulette took me when I got my first turkey. So I started, and they created a monster. I love turkey hunting.
Roger has seen this relational element at play, too.
I worked with a guy who grew up hunting, and he talks about hunting with his grandpa. And I think his grandpa's since passed, but his last hunt, he really wanted to go up there and spend that time with his grandpa, just kind of remember the good old days. So there's the family part of it. There's the outdoorsy conservation, woodsman, love being outdoors part of it. It's multifaceted.
The culture of wild turkey conservationists is strong, and by that, I mean it's galvanized itself to the point where they have their own lingo, traditions, and practices. And you can see it all on display at the National Wild Turkey Federation Convention.
Let's go talk about some wild turkeys.
Held every year at Nashville's famous Opryland Hotel, the NWTF convention is a gathering of wild turkey enthusiasts, and enthusiastic they are. The offerings of this convention are vast and dizzying. Meetings and sessions include official wild turkey conservation business with updates on leadership and initiatives, and luncheons to celebrate volunteers and contributors to the cause. But in addition to formal meetings, there's an entire building with vendors whose offerings encompass more than just turkey hunting, but hunting and outdoor activities of all types. There's also a taxidermy competition.
Our taxidermists are highly skilled artisans. They do tremendous work. We'll have about 60,000 people through the doors this year, so they get a lot of viewing.
And there's a calling competition.
Welcome to the 2024 NWTF Grand National Friction Preliminary Round of Competition.
These folks are using their handheld calls to mimic hen noises to entice a tom. Behold, the first contestant in the competition.
Your final call will be Gobbler Yelp.
The folks in this competition are the best of the best. They've been competing all season to make it to this event. The best callers include folks like a guy named Matt Van Sice. Brent Rogers, who collects turkey calls, says Matt is the GOAT of turkey calling.
Matt Van Sice is the GOAT because he is stacking up turkey calling championship titles like he's building a brick house. I mean, it is truly amazing. He's rooted himself in the voice of the wild turkey. So he listens to turkeys and he goes back to original audio of wild turkeys, and he is truly speaking the wild turkey's voice.
The calls Matt and other competitors are using can be made by hand by the likes of Bob Fulcher, who's a legendary call maker. He and I met at the NWTF convention.
The turkey call itself has a way of bringing us together. There's a fellowship that you'll find in turkey hunters that you won't find it in deer hunters or duck hunters or pheasant hunters. There's something about turkey hunters that we come together and we like to be friends. So.
Bob is so legendary, in fact, that he's known by name by celebrities like Matt Light, former Patriots offensive lineman who won 3 Super Bowls with Tom Brady, who was even on the stage for the roast of Tom Brady. Matt has a nonprofit helping young people to develop skills for the future, including outdoor education and hunting. And yes, Bob Fulcher, the call maker, is even a celebrity to Matt Light, who stopped an entire interview to call Bob out in the room.
We're having this conversation here at WTF. We have a legend that just walks in, Mr. Bob Fulcher. And if you haven't met Bob, you should, because he's a world-class caller, call maker. And I'm going to be giving Bob some amazing wood so he can make some cool calls. But a little shout out to him. Yeah, we have a long history, so...
Bob Fulcher embodies what it means to be a turkey person. He's been one his whole life. He's a hunter, yes, but he's better known as a call maker. Started learning to make calls from his grandfather, who made them in the tradition of a man named Jeremiah Stevens. Jeremiah was freed from slavery in Virginia, and he was well known for his turkey hunting skills and what's known as a scratch box call. Stevens' scratch box calls are some of the most unique, and while there's not much history recorded about him, the turkey world has not forgotten. In fact, the National Wild Turkey Federation awards the Jeremiah Stevens call every year for the best scratch box call. Bob, a celebrated call maker, often judges these competitions, and he feels at home when he's here.
Together, we have a common passion that brings us together. And
Why is that?
I can't tell you. It's something really magic. It's just something special that happens. And I think this NWTF convention has a big impact on that too. And we'll spend the whole weekend here talking and meeting new people and making new friends. You just don't see that in other groups of hunters. So the whole culture is very unique, and there's an attractiveness to it. There's something that draws us to it.
Some people, like me, would have assumed that the draw has something to do with some attraction to hunting, killing, or controlling an environment. But that's not at the heart of the ethos for wild turkey hunters.
We experience more joy in the parts of the hunt that don't involve killing something. And that can be the friendship with the buddy that you're sitting next to the tree with, or it could just be the experiences that you're enjoying when you're out there seeing the daffodils in bloom as you're walking across a pasture in the morning, or you hear the whippoorwills as they're singing in the dark as you're moving towards your hunting area. There's just so much to the whole experience that the killing of the animal is really the smallest part of a turkey hunt. And most of us can go out there and not kill anything, and we go home and we feel just as satisfied as if we harvested an animal. Matter of fact, I always say that if I go out and I get to hear at least one good, strong gobble in the morning, I've had a great day. I can hunt all day and go home and I'll still feel like I had a wonderful day in the woods.
When you meet a turkey hunter, at some point, I promise, you'll swear they've got tears welling up in their eyes talking about the bird and the times they spent trying to find it. They use words like magic and beauty and grace.
You try to get out in the woods in the pre-dawn, get out while it's still a little dark and get to your tree and set up and wait. And when the light starts coming out, and some days even before the light starts coming through the clouds, you will hear turkeys start gobbling, and it will make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. And it is a wonderful, wonderful sound, similar to the bugle of an elk or the cackle of a hen, a pheasant when you kick her up. It's an iconic sound. And when you hear that in the woods for your first time, I guarantee it'll change your life.
Are all call makers as poetic as you are?
When you hear that first gobble in the morning in the woods, you'll understand everything.
And this is Brent, remembering the first time he ever saw a turkey.
I remember seeing the first turkey on our farm in the 1980s and just thinking, that is amazing.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Just watching it fly off, thinking that is a thing of grace and beauty. Just amazing.
And Roger, even Roger Shields, who works for the state, he can start to sound like Thoreau.
Maybe across most people, there is just a love of the outdoors. And just to be in the woods when it's quiet at night, and then as the woods start to come alive, as the sun, starts to rise and the birds start calling and everything starts waking up. I mean, there's just a part of us that we enjoy that.
This way they talk about the turkey and hunting, it's not completely original to them. There's a tradition of using poetic language in this niche. In fact, one of the key conservationists who helped with the turkey survival efforts was lauded as the poet laureate of turkey hunting. His name is Tom Kelly, and he wrote the pivotal turkey hunting book, 10th Legion. The 10th Legion is Rome's elite military force, and Kelly saw the same determination and commitment in turkey hunters as he read about the Romans. Remember, chess match, strategy. He was a colonel in the army, well-read, whip-smart. He's still living at age 97. He's a bona fide turkey hunting celebrity. Everyone who hunts or knows anything about wild turkeys knows Tom Kelly. Here's Tom in the official 10th Legion audiobook, reading a passage that nearly took my breath away.
He will experience moments of tragedy of such a depth and feeling as to preclude them from having been written by anyone but Euripides, and he will exult in periods of piercing rapture, previously understood only by willing Christian martyrs being eaten by willing lions.
Poetry. Preceding Tom Kelly's writing is a book known to hunters and conservationists alike by one of the early voices in the conservationist movement, a man from Wisconsin named Aldo Leopold.
Well, I went to school in the environmental field.
This is Ken Beach. He does conservation and environmental work in Illinois. He grew up hunting and being outdoors, but it wasn't until he read Aldo Leopold's seminal work and collection of essays called A Sand County Almanac that he began his career in environmental and conservation efforts.
It just had a lot of really great perspectives and shone a light on the interaction of hunting and conservation.
Was that a new concept that he was presenting, or had that already kind of been established?
It was fairly new in his time, back in the 40s, 50s, I believe it was. So he brought those learnings that he had into the classroom and began wildlife management classes. Aldo Leopold had a big impact on me, and I think many others.
Many others, indeed. Aldo Leopold started a whole movement. You'll learn more about him later in this series. His work is more significant than just beautiful writing, but let's be clear, it is beautiful writing. Reading A Sand County Almanac, you'll find passages like this.
My earliest impressions of wildlife and its pursuit retain a vivid sharpness of form, color, and atmosphere that half a century of professional wildlife experience has failed to obliterate or improve upon.
Aldo Leopold and Tom Kelly's books, with their distinct differences yet similar style, are love stories about being outside in nature. No matter who you talk to on the subject of wild turkeys, it always comes back to this.
I love being out in nature and getting to watch the world wake up. I just love getting to call the birds in and having them respond, and just the thrill of the hunt. Every time I hear a bird gobble it, I get chill bumps.
Something we hunt because the entire experience, from the minute you step out of your truck in the morning and you feel that cold air hit your face, and maybe hear an owl hoot across the woods, and then hear your first gobble in the morning. The entire experience is what draws us in.
After weeks of interviews, talking to top fans of the wild turkey and hearing stories that gave me goosebumps, I had a very strong urge to take myself out in the dark of morning and find a turkey. And it wasn't easy.
I feel like I'm catfishing turkeys.
After the break, you'll come with me on a turkey hunt or two. Be right back. Hey, I hope you've been enjoying this mini-series so far. Our team is very, very proud of it, and we are so grateful that you're spending time on it. If you love it and you want to support it, I'll say it again, the best way to do that is to tell someone you think will love it too. You can just text them about it. Word of mouth is the best way to tell someone about a new show and the best way to help us. Ratings and reviews are also really great. If you want to do that, I'm not going to stop you. But if you want to do anything, tell somebody about it right now. Okay, let's get back to the episode. Some people have wild turkeys in their neighborhood. A friend in Minnesota sent me a handful of news articles about turkey running amok in Minneapolis. A healthy turkey population, to be sure, if not a bother and a nuisance. I don't have the same kind of luck in my own neighborhood, so I had to go out and find one myself. But I've never done this before. Where to even begin? Luckily, I know some people who can give me pointers. Like Bob, the call maker.
What would you start with?
Say in the spring, I might start out with just a cluck or just a couple yelps. And sometimes that's all it needs, and you'll hear another turkey respond to you, whether it's a hen or a gobbler. You can get a response with just a small sound. I like to start small and build up. If you can't get a reaction, maybe you start throwing in something, an excited call that'll draw it out of them.
With this information in my pocket, along with recordings on my iPad of the various calls performed by the one and only, greatest of all time, Matt Van Cise, I went to a friend's backyard connected to a wooded part of a large lake in town. She sees turkeys all the time, she says. This bodes well for me.
So, the first is a plain yelp. And this is Matt Van Cise's plain yelp.
Did you hear that? That ever so faint, high-pitched warble of a sound? I kept hearing it, but couldn't figure out if it was the thing I came to find.
I really feel like I keep hearing a dog. Do I keep hearing a dog? I feel like I'm catfishing turkeys. Sorry, Mr. Tom. I'm just a podcaster. Hold on. That was a turkey.
Experts and consultants I played this recording for later confirmed it was a turkey. And so it's true. Matt Van Cise, the greatest of all time goat turkey caller, even on recordings, does indeed have an extraordinarily turkey-like quality about his calls. There's one problem, though. I don't know how to play turkey chess. I don't know where that gobble came from, or how far away it is, or where to move, or how to respond. So I did not see a turkey on this day. And here's something I've learned while researching for this miniseries. Wild turkeys are a lot like Bill Murray. They show up when you least expect them and provide you with some sort of absurd experience you'll talk about forever. Sometimes hilarious, sometimes maddening, and then they disappear. But if you're intentionally looking for them, you'll never find them. Most especially if you're trying to do a podcast about them. I needed more than just knowledge. I needed a guru. I needed Farmer Billy.
All right, I'll carry all the equipment. Morning, Malcolm. Morning, ladies. You tell him, Malcolm.
From the moo, you might have figured out that Malcolm and the ladies are a herd of brown and white cows, extremely curious about these two passersby emerging from the dusk of the 5 a.m. hour. Billy leads our hunting party of two around the cow fence to an open area, and he starts teaching me the ways of the turkey.
They normally come up this little fence line right here. He likes to strut down here along that tree line because he can see down in the woods, but he can also see up here on the hill. That's where you find them at. They're not dumb animals. I don't care what anybody says. It takes years to bring these senses into reality. But yeah, there's plenty of ways to try to figure them out, but then once you think you've got them figured out, they've changed. I try to meet them where they want to go.
We settle into the forest floor at the base of a tree, and Billy begins the match.
He just gobbled right there. That was a gobble. Yeah, he's on the ground down there. See, he gobbled again. Yeah, he's coming this way. See, he cut me off.
The first time we met, Billy told me he was deaf in one ear. Spent time in the Marines, and that affected his hearing. He leans in when you talk to him and read your lips. But turkey gobbles? Billy can hear them from yards away. And then Billy did something that blew my mind. That sound is coming from his mouth. He's mimicking something called spitting and drumming, the sound toms make when they're strutting, and he's using it to start a competition with the other tom, making him think that there's another male up the hill.
He's hot, he double gobbled.
What you can't see in that moment is that when the turkey gobbles, Billy proudly, satisfyingly looks up at the sky and smiles. I shared this clip, this moment, as a reel on Instagram, and it went viral, like for real. 1 million views in the first 36 hours, 3.5 million views in the first few days. What I gathered was that the spitting and drumming call is extremely difficult to do and impressive. Many said they had never seen anything like it before. Other turkey experts piped up and said the turkey wasn't responding to the spitting and drumming, probably couldn't even hear it. But Billy actually mentioned this himself after he did it the first time. Regardless, Billy and his spitting and drumming technique are exceptional, even to experts. Billy and I sat under the tree for 20 minutes, calling out to the gobblers and getting a response. Just waiting.
Yes, yes. He's come down that hill. Okay. And he's coming over this way. Okay. That's why it sounds like he got deeper. Oh, because it's... Yeah. Yep, he knows the male.
And then there was nothing. No response. Our Tom went silent.
Yes, he got totally quiet. Unless he's done seen us. Oh, they got sharp eyes. Either that or a coyote or something upset him. And he ran away. Because he just quit all of a sudden. Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Despite having talked to the turkey for half an hour, despite having a call with viral potential, we didn't see a single turkey that day. Roger Shields did mention that this could happen. We lost the chess match. Checkmate.
I see, with it being late season like this, he's probably not stupid.
And I guess it would make sense that the ones that are still alive at the end of the season might be the smartest ones.
Or the luckiest bastards in the world. Because sometimes luck is better than being good, you know what I'm saying?
It seems to me that this is the reason why a successful hunt doesn't involve tagging a turkey, bringing it home. Because the entire experience was so worth my time. Waking up an hour before the sun rose, hearing roosters crowing, walking in the dark on a dirt path, seeing ducks on the pond with their babies.
Some people are like, you're crazy. I'm like, no, you just don't get it. You get to see the ducks, you get to see squirrels, you get to see chipmunks doing stuff that you're like, wow. It's just amazing. The deer.
And then, on top of all this, to experience the thrill of calling out to a wild creature and hearing a response. I got it. I understood why turkey people are the way that they are. It's worth noting that something involving so much isolation and silence has such a strong relational element, but that's what was required to preserve the act of the experience by banding together across the country to save a bird, to form a national federation and gatherings that speak poetically about the preservation of wildlife to protect a tradition. But in order to do that, these people had to be willing to sacrifice and put their money and actions where their heart was, and this required taking cues from history, both recent and ancient. Coming up on the next episode of the mini-series,
the Native Americans are probably the greatest group of conservationists by far. They really worshiped the land and the animals, but they also had to harvest animals to survive. And so it was a balance that they had to engage in. And so they have a really unique perspective.
We explore this balance a balance that existed long before the first Thanksgiving feast of legend and that informed the work of the early conservationists.
They learned to coexist side by side because they always have with humans. There's always been a relationship with humans in that particular bird.
You've got to invest in everything and respect everything for us to all have a future, where there will be no future for very long.
On episode 3 of this mini-series, we meet the ones who have connections to the original work of wild turkey conservation and discover how this modern-day movement has been around for centuries. The Niche to Meet You project and the stories we tell are lovingly crafted for you by me and my storytelling sidekick and editor, Chris Thiessen. The music you heard was composed by Abigail Flowers and arranged by Zach and Maggie White. Our art is by Rachel Hardiker, and our mastering is by Kevin Morris. Finally, we want to thank Laura Bates and Tom Kelly for allowing us to use 10th Legion audiobook files. You can read more about the Niche to Meet You project and all of the wonderful niche interests we cover at www.nichetomeetyou.show.